The battle for immigration reform continues. Republican leaders are vigorously working on a last-ditch effort to get something done and something passed. The House GOP, of course, hoping now to vote on this next week as some sort of compromise bill. This after postponing 2 votes because obviously they didn't have enough votes. Meanwhile, President Trump hosting families who lost loved ones killed by illegal immigrants at the White House this afternoon. And he's making these comments on our weak immigration laws.
As a result of sanctuary city policies in fiscal 2017, more than 8,000 criminal aliens. These are really hardcore criminal aliens. Were in police custody and were released because of our weak laws, weakest in the world, weakest in the history of the world.
Here now to discuss Rick Ungar, Sirius XM Still and Ungar host and Forbes senior political contributor. Joe Borelli, New York City Council Minority Whip, former Trump New York campaign co-chair. And Ned Ryun, American Majority CEO, who contributed to The Hill. Also, of course, former Bush 43 presidential writer. Ned, I want to start with you. It doesn't seem like the Republicans can get their act together. We'll see what happens. President Trump, in fact, earlier today, more or less throwing his hands up, not only with the frustration with the Republicans, but even if they finally do get their act together, more than likely they couldn't get any sort of support from the other side of the aisle.
Well, my concern, Charles, is with the nasty habit of Republican leadership managing to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, that they're going to botch this. I would almost prefer that nothing happened before the midterms, because I am deeply concerned that they will try and push forward a bill that could be very detrimental to Republicans in the midterms, that will give away too much without getting anything in return. And so my sincere hope is that if anything is put onto the floor for a vote, it is the Goodlatte bill. And if it's not going to pass, at least have an up or down vote to put people on the record as to where they actually stand on the Goodlatte bill, because that is the only bill that is acceptable to the base.
Well, Rick, I know you must be enjoying this.
Well, you know, I think Ned's going to get his wish. You know, that makes me very happy. First of all, the Goodlatte bill already failed, Ned.
Well, there's Goodlatte 1, 2, 3, 4, so.
Yeah, they're all going to fail. But even more, the compromise bill, which was supposed to happen yesterday, then it was supposed to happen today, now it's next week. It's not going to pass either. When you look at how the votes broke down on the Goodlatte 1, it's a very weird twisting going on there. There just aren't going to be enough votes to get the compromise bill through.
So Joe, you know, where does this set us up? You know, President Trump then sort of shifting the narrative, trying to recapture the narrative and argue, hey, you know, what we're talking about is more than the children being taken from their family. That was a big crisis as we entered the week. And he reminded everyone with these angel moms. In fact, before I ask you that, let's share just some of their statements today at the White House. A lot of it very touching stuff.
None of our kids had a minute to say goodbye. We weren't lucky enough to be separated for 5 days or 10 days. We're separated permanently.
My separation is permanent. Sarah's never coming home. I never get to take a selfie with her again.
They could fill this stage up every day for the next 5 months of victims of illegal alien crime, and it would just keep going.
So remember when you go home and hug your kids, that there are many of us, thousands of us, who don't get to do that anymore.
He shouldn't have been there, and we had many opportunities to get him out.
That last mom, Sabine Durden, she brought tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
She really did. She said she contemplated committing suicide. You can never understand the pain of losing a child, but particularly when perhaps if we had laws in place, it may have not have ever had to happen.
When we talk about the victims of illegal immigration, Democrats and the media seem to almost always focus on people caught up in the system that's sometimes unfair, and they forget 99 out of 100 times about these families who have faced permanent separation. Instead of covering these families, which you never see unless Trump has them in front of a camera, they're trying to doctor photos to shape the narrative to their own agenda, and they're trying to sanitize the Barack Obama record on the same issue, which was equally, if not more, appalling.
Rick?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much here. It's just getting to be overwhelming. I do have to respond. There were incidences in the Barack Obama years just like this. It was different. What was appalling were the unaccompanied minors and how they were being kept. And you're absolutely right. They should have taken way more heat for the way they treated those kids. But, you know, what I saw today, obviously absolutely heartbreaking. But I got to ask you guys, you're 3 smart guys, a question. My experience is when you suffer a terrible, tragic event, you tend to become more sympathetic towards those who may have a similar situation. Now, you can pick the adjective, either some, many, or most of the people coming in right now from Central America are doing it to keep their kids from being killed. We've heard all the stories about the threats. So hopefully you can sympathize with their situation. They don't want to become permanently separated from their children the way these poor folks have been. So I think we have to keep that in mind.
Well, Ned, you know, we understand when people seek asylum from dangerous or economic reasons. I think, though, that there was a kinship, a shared kinship in the White House today, because all of these folks lost their children to illegal immigrants, and I guess the idea here is, hey, let's just fix the immigration system.
This to me is, and Rick, I understand. I mean, a lot of us on center right, we empathize with these people coming from Central America and from Mexico. We understand there is a massive breakdown of civil society. I think a lot of these states in Central America and Mexico, they're almost on the edge of being failed states. Right. I understand that. At the same time, we have to say we put the American citizen first. We are a caring and generous people. We have to fix this problem and understand we want to have a legal, streamlined, systematic, merit-based approach to immigration. We understand what's taking place. At the same time, the American people come first, and the first thing that we have to do to solve the immigration crisis problem is secure the southern border. And I know that we go back and forth on this, Rick, but a lot of us truly believe that part of securing that border is build a physical wall in as many places as possible. And let's get to the point where we can at least have some sort of compromise. This is the frustrating part to me. On our side, we are saying these DACA dreamers, 694,000, they should be put on a path to citizenship if we get the secure border, if we end chain migration, if we have E-Verify and end sanctuary cities.
Well, to that point, let me ask you, Rick, to that point, are the Democrats overplaying their hand? You know, to me, it's clear overall they probably had a big public relations victory this week. But are they overplaying their hand? I mean, you've got a mayoral candidate in New York City saying abolish ICE, but she's not the first one. It's not just Cynthia Nixon. I'm shocked that I went to research, and all year long, progressives have been pushing the idea that we shouldn't even have a border patrol or even immigration services.
You know what? They may be overplaying their hand, but the problem here is that both sides keep playing a hand. Let's talk about what's right. Can we, for 5 minutes, put aside the usual, the Democrats...
Well, we got 30 seconds left in the segment, so we can't do it for 5 minutes.
Okay, for 30 seconds. I mean, just enough with it, these politicians. I'm ticked off at my side. I'm ticked off at your side. One quick proposal. Why can't we have a summit with Mexico and the other safer Central American countries to work out how to distribute these refugees? We shouldn't.
Well, you know, here's the irony, though. President Trump almost said the same thing, Joe, because he tweeted out about Mexico's tough border security, tough asylum laws. I mean, they're much more rigid than we are. And Canada is much more rigid. They have a merit-based system already.
And the leading Mexican presidential contender just said he'd like to basically allow all immigrants from Central America to not stay in Mexico, but to pass through to come to the United States.
That's right.
Just to jump on his point, Democrats didn't take a deal when it was DACA without the border wall, without border funding. If they're not going to take that deal back in February, it just proves they want nothing short of open borders.
All right, or that it's just, you know, it's better. Or they just think it's such a great political PR thing,
political tool
that it works in elections.
I don't know any Democrats. Maybe Nancy Pelosi wants open borders.
Let's leave it there.